So hey guys, Marge on the Lam is the 6th episode of Season 5 of The Simpsons. The episode was first released in November the 4th, 1993, and is of course a parody of the film Thelma and Louise, starring both Marge and her neighbour, Ruth Powers. The episode was directed by Mark Kirkland, and it was written by Bill Canterbury. Like I said, the main plot follows Marge and Ruth, where we do get a B plot with Homer and a sort of C plot with Lisa, Bart and Lionel Hutz. And I love me some Phil Hartman and I love me some good parody, so let's jump into the plot of this thing and discover if it's good or bad. The episode starts with this very unfunny comedian on the TV and Homer and the family not getting the jokes, just like I didn't get the jokes. Very relatable. The TV then cuts to Troy McClure, who announces that they are looking for funding for their public access television. Now, this episode opener is fairly decent. The TV is often used to start up episodes, and this one sets up things quite well. We get some Troy, we get some funny jokes, and it sort of all acts as a way to sort of start off the main three plots. So let's now split up into those three plots. So in the A plot, Marge is of course the one to donate some money to the public TV, and in return she gets some free ballet tickets. Homer promises to go, and Ruth arrives asking for a power sander. Homer sees what the ballet is really like, and Marge sees he's disappointed but tells him that he can't back out now. Marge waits at home for Homer the night that the ballet is meant to happen, and he calls to say that he is trapped in two vending machines. Marge doesn't really believe him and tries to get Patty and Selma to go, but they're not interested, so she asks Ruth to go to the ballet with her. After Ruth comes to return that power sander, Marge and Ruth watch the ballet, and after the ballet, Marge goes to go home because of the time, and Ruth sort of laughs at Marge's traditionalism. Marge and Ruth talk about Ruth's ex-husband, and Marge returns home and tells Homer that she's disappointed at him, but tells him that she's going to be going out again with Ruth on Saturday. But Homer is not too happy about it. Marge goes out with Ruth, who is got her shades on, a cigarette in her mouth, and a shiny looking car. They speed off and head to a bar. Marge is hit on, they go clubbing, and then they go shooting at cans with Ruth's gun. Marge is hesitant, but tries and hits a can. They go to head home, but Marge has one more place for them to visit, the Springfield sign, and Marge thinks back to when her and Homer used to go there on dates. And Marge and Ruth have this little bonding moment over the sign. Really cool. They go to head home, but on the way they are pursued by Wiggum in a police car. Ruth reveals that she can't pull over because she stole her husband's car, and they speed off into the Badlands. Marge tells her that she should have just reported her husband to the police after he stopped paying the child support, and Ruth and Marge sort of have a moment there where Ruth sort of says that she's the friend that she never had. Ruth and Marge then lose Wiggum by turning off their headlights, and they head to a pit stop. Marge departs from Ruth to call a cab and to leave, but when she goes inside and sees all the other friends who have stuck together, she returns to Ruth and they head off into the sunset together as friends. But they are chased by Wiggum again, and also a lot more cops. They are faced with pretty much every cop in Springfield, and Ruth declares that she's giving up. But Marge convinces her not to and turns the wheel and the car away from the cops. But unknown to them, they are heading right to a great chasm. Homer, who's in Wiggum's car, tells Marge on a megaphone that he's sorry about being a crappy husband and pleads with her not to drive into the chasm. They realise that they're driving into a chasm and slam the brakes down and stop, but Homer and Wiggum go over. The A-plot is really goddamn good. It acts as a great parody and also a great sort of buddy cop-esque dynamic with Marge and Ruth. There's a very good solid structure here too. We have our inciting incident with them getting the ballet tickets. The plot point 1 is of course going with Ruth to the ballet. The midpoint or no return point is Marge embracing Ruth's rebellious side and taking her to that spot on the Springfield sign. You know, Marge doesn't do bedtime anymore. The plot point 2, although it's not a massive low point, is the scene at the pit stop where Marge and Ruth depart from one another. It's not really a low point at all, but it does signify a potential breakup in this friendship that Marge desperately needs, and I think it works really well. The climax then is of course the police chase at the end, which results in them not going off the cliff. Overall, really solid, so let's quickly go over the B-plot with Homer. So Homer, of course, promises to go to the ballet, not knowing really what it is. He finds out what it is and is not particularly interested, but he is intending to keep that promise. At the plant, he tries to get a free cola from the vending machine and gets his hand stuck. Determined to go to the ballet, he drags the vending machine along and sees another and gets his other arm stuck in that one too. Firefighters come, but it turns out Homer just needed to let go of the items to get free. He returns to Marge with a note and everything and learns that she and Ruth are going out again, which Homer objects to. He continues to try to get Marge not to go out, but she does anyway. Homer tries calling people to spend time with and then gets Lionel Hutz as the babysitter for the kids. He heads out to Moe's, the Quickie Mart and the library, but doesn't seem to have fun in any of them. Homer heads to the Springfield sign to reminisce on the time when him and Marge used to go there. And he goes to go bash a new weather station, but declares it's no fun without Marge. He meets Wiggum and tells him what's happening with Marge, and Wiggum offers to take him home, but on the way they begin to pursue Marge and Ruth. They cower in fear when Marge and Ruth disappear, because Wiggum says that they'd be ghost cars. In the morning, they cook some eggs and see Marge and Ruth again, and pursue them once more, but this time with backup. When Wiggum declares that they're heading for the chasm, Homer uses a megaphone and admits his faults to Marge and Ruth break, but Homer and Wiggum of course go flying off the cliff into a landfill. But they do survive. The B-plot with Homer isn't particularly high stakes, and some of the conflict is slightly forced. Merely the idea that Homer is worried he's losing Marge. I mean, she's just got a friend that she hangs out with from time to time. Well, not even time to time, this is the second time Marge has spent time with Ruth. I sort of get why Homer is worried that they set him up, obviously constantly disappointing her, but I think it would have made more sense if Homer had only thought he'd lose Marge when he found out she was being pursued and chased by the cops, and maybe he assumes that she's like a criminal at this point, and that's when he acts upon trying to stop Marge from hanging out with Ruth. I also think Homer's just really selfish in this as well. I won't touch on this too much in the characters, I'll just say it here, but Homer's just an asshole. Marge really desperately needs a friend, and Homer just refuses to allow her to have this relationship. I just think it's a very bad portrayal for Homer. Then we get the C-plot. Don't even know if you can call it a separate plot, but the stuff with Lionel Hutz and the kids is just funny as hell. They cut back to it quite a lot too. It never really feels jarring when they do show us what's happening with Hutz and the kids, but it acts as a really nice breakaway and a hilarious collection of scenes. We then get the resolution to all the plots, designed like the end of a typical cop show. I actually like this as well, it's a nice touch. Ruth was let off the Grand Theft Auto and got the child support money. Lionel Hutz was paid his $8 for the babysitting. Marge was tried for destroying those cans and was made to pay a fine. And Homer was forced back into the army for testing, a tie back to an earlier cutaway. Overall, I think the plot of the episode in its whole is very solid. They move from one scene to the next quite effectively. They tie in Marge's plot and Homer's plot really well so they can have that moment at the end. Ruth acts as a really good bad cop to Marge's good cop, and the dynamic between them is engaging. And it has all the right plot beats in place as well. Hutz is just the cherry on top. He's a joy to check up on. But there are some cutaways, and I can't lie, they do sort of slow the episode down for me just a bit. There's only really two that I really dislike. So let's look and see if those cutaways are at least funny. Let's see. So despite me having some issues with the cutaways, the humour in this episode is really goddamn good. Actually, this episode really well balances humour and the plot's pace. Both of them feel like they don't move slow and they move effectively together. The only cutaway that really bothered me, at least the one that bothered me the most, is Homer imagining Maggie's wedding and still having those vending machines attached to his arms. That one was just silly and really unneeded. The flashback with Homer and Marge was a good cutaway, to be honest, and it was well provoked. And it wasn't particularly very funny, but it did feel needed to give context to their sort of past relationship. The army experiment one, though, I will say was very cheap, but then they do tie back to it in the resolution, so maybe I give it a pass, I don't know. However, you know what my favourite joke is? Pretty much all of Lionel Hutz. say hello to Miguel Sanchez, badly negotiating his price with Homer and asking for that birdcage, waking up with that knife. There's just so much amazing and memorable Hutz moments here. Marge is really good in this one too. Her dancing, her saying to Ruth, "You're not going to hunt me for sport, are you?" And also, I hit it. It's just great. Marge is just a barrel of laughs in this one. Homer is also pretty fun as well. The vending machine joke, the note he got from the firefighters, and him and Wiggum act as a really great and funny duo. Funny actually, how they parallel quite nicely to Marge and Ruth. Marge and Ruth are a great duo, as stated before, and this episode couldn't work without Ruth, and I feel like I haven't really talked enough about her. So let's move on to the characters and see how Ruth is depicted in this episode, and if the characters are good or bad. Although Marge is the protagonist of this one, Ruth is a big player. She acts as a really nice bad angel for Marge, and Ruth is depicted as quite untraditional and quite unfeminine, at least from Marge's tradcon viewpoint. She's reintroduced from a previous episode by picking up that sander and using it. We don't see her use it, but the fact that she goes to get it. And straight away we learn something from her. She's not hiring some guy to use it for her, she herself is using it. The way she dresses, her attitude to the police and her ex-husband, it all just juxtaposes what Marge's life is like. Ruth is depicted really well in this. She's a criminal, but barely, and she has a very good reason as to why she stole that car. Ruth learns from Marge, and Marge learns from Ruth as well, and I really like these little sprinkles they throw in. Ruth learning she could have just reported her husband, Marge learning not to be such a wet blanket and stay outside and have fun. Marge is our protagonist as well, and being a great good cop in this buddy cop-esque dynamic. I think we get to see a little bit of a new rebellious side to Marge. She embraces some of Ruth's behaviours and enjoys herself a little. She learns to understand that she isn't just a wife and a mother, and she's her own person, and she also learns how to be a friend. I love the fact she makes Ruth not give up when the police surround them, and overall, Marge is just really depicted well here. Homer is fine in this one, not anything too new here. We've had plenty of episodes where Homer feels guilty about how he's treated Marge. I do think it's sweet that he uses that megaphone and gives that speech, but nothing really unseen before, but at the same time nothing too bad. The only issue I take with Homer is I feel like he's very pushy and very cruel to Marge at the beginning, where he doesn't allow her to go out with Ruth, or at least doesn't want her to go out with Ruth. That kind of felt a bit mean. I love getting some more Wiggum as well, and of course, Lionel Hutz. He is just great, and it's clear he's hitting rock bottom. Overall, the characters are amazing. They're used really well in the plot, and besides Homer and the kids, I think we get to learn something new about all of them. So with that, what do I think this episode deserves? Is it good or bad? Let's move on to that score. So I think Marge on the Lam is a great episode. There is this really good dynamic between Marge and Ruth, a solid plot with perfect beats, an amazing character selection, and also an amazing selection of jokes, especially with Lionel Hutz to top it all off. I do take issue with the cutaways, and I don't think Homer's stuff is all that amazing, but the main plot and the stuff with Hutz is damn near perfect. So in conclusion, I give Marge on the Lam a solid 9 out of 10. So close to a 10 though. Really, really is. Anyway, let's move on to that wheel. We have got only 30 entries left, and I think my plan anyway, is that when we get to like 15 maybe, I'll open it up for some more suggestions. So we're gonna whittle it down to 15 and then we'll do some more suggestions. But anyway, let's spin it. So the next episode I will be reviewing is Hurricane Neddy. Hey, okay, another earlier season episode.